Welcome everyone back to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey. And today we're going to talk a little defense, streaming defenses. We haven't really done any defensive talk this year, mainly because I think early in the year it's hard to really know who's good. Not even necessarily who's good as a defense, but who's bad to, like what teams are bad to go, like what teams you want to go against. So now I think we got some pretty good data, and we're going to look to help you set you up for the rest of this season, especially if you've been streaming defense. A lot of us do. Sometimes you luck into a defense that you're just like, oh, awesome, I'm set. I don't have to worry about it anymore. It's great when that happens. I never you just never know. Something like I think you did it a couple years ago with the Pats. It was just insane. This year there really hasn't been that defense. I think the Cowboys have been pretty good. The Browns have been solid, but they've had bad weeks, good weeks. There's all kinds like that. No one's been terribly dominant. So I think this is really a year where you got to play these matchups. And I think we could found a couple decent ones that can help you get through the rest of this year if you've been streaming. And you have to, play with a couple of them to make it work completely. But I got some names I want to throw out. First off, I'm going to start off with, we'll talk about even ones over 50% in a little bit of like maybe you should trade for these teams, because trading for defenses sometimes isn't that hard. If you give away an okay player on your bench, sometimes people go for it. So, but under 50% defenses you could be streaming. This isn't biased for me, but the Lions, I think this is an awesome defensive choice. And we're going to skip week 10. We're not even going to talk about this week. This is just like beyond this. The Lions, here's their schedule. Week 11, they got the Bears. Then they got the Packers. They play the Saints. I'm not that worried about the Saints. Then they play the Bears again. Then they play Denver. And then they play Minnesota, who at that point, Dobbs, I know it's a feel-good story, and I like the guy. He's not that great. And he will throw a pick, he'll fumble, all that stuff. That's an awesome stretch for the Lions. That also is an awesome stretch for us as fans. I mean, think about this. They play the Chargers this week, who knows? But after that, man, we're looking pretty solid. I like that schedule. But that as a defense, Lions have been pretty good. That's a great schedule if you've been streaming. And this is a perfect time to get them. They're coming off a bye, so they're not owned that in many places. Now they're playing the Chargers, so no one's clamoring to go pick them up to play the Chargers. Look at that. Go pick them up right now. You got them for all those weeks. That's a great schedule. I don't see how they're not a very solid, probably top 10 defense the rest of the way. How are they not with that?
Oh, I'd agree. I'd probably amp them up even a little more.
Yeah.
And even it doesn't mean that you can't get another defense. It doesn't mean that you can't have them as your base and then go out and get someone that has a really wonderful matchup. They're playing the Giants or whatever. Like You can supplement as well.
Yeah,
but it'd be great to keep them to know I have a solid defense no matter what happens.
Yeah, exactly. I think that one is, you're going to feel really, really good. You feel confident with that. But another one you could actually pair them with, if you want that, like maybe if you got the line, maybe you don't love that at New Orleans week. I don't think New Orleans is that great, but maybe that's just like, maybe you don't love it on the road. Lions on the road maybe aren't as great. You could go, how about you go get the Chargers, who play New England that week? I think that's probably pretty set. And then week 17, the Lions don't have a great matchup. They play the Cowboys, I believe, but the Chargers play Denver. So you could go get the Chargers and the Lions for the 11 through 17 and use the Lions for 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, use the Chargers for 13 and 17. And I think that's a pretty good spot. And those aren't defenses that anybody loves to get, but their matchups are awesome. And I think you're going to be in really good shape. So those are some I like. Another one I'll put out here, if maybe those aren't available, you just want a team that has a couple good matchups coming up. The Vikings actually have some solid matchups for another under 50%, and they need their defense to try to win some games right now. They're going to probably play lower scoring games with Dobbs in general. They have week 11 against Denver, week 12 against Chicago, and week 14 against Las Vegas. So they have 3 solid matchups here as for the rest of the regular season. So, and then I'll go even further. If you're really like, you're beyond this, you're set for the playoffs, and maybe you're just going to try to like throw it under the radar defense for that week. The Commanders play the Rams in week 15, and who knows who's the quarterback going to be. And then they play the Jets in week 16. So a couple good playoff matchups. And then another one, which is, don't know how I feel about it, but it's the Texans. This is their playoff schedule. They play at Tennessee, then Cleveland, then Tennessee. I feel like those could be low-scoring games. So just keep on your radar. Those aren't ones you don't really probably go pick up the Commanders and the Texans right now, but just watch for them as it gets closer. If you need a defense, but I'd rather go Lions and that kind of stuff. But those are some of the under 50 percenters. Jeff, do you have some that you like more for you try to go trade for?
Trade for, yeah, without a doubt. Maybe not my number one, but the first one I want to talk about, because much like the Lions, they have a free and clear schedule moving out the rest of the year, and that is Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Not only do they can get to it, they can get sacks, they can get you TDs, force fumbles, all that stuff. But you look at who they've already went through, and they've done okay. I mean, the only time that they went negative was against Houston, which has surprised a lot of people. Even Dallas went negative 3 times already this year. So it's the give and take of big and small. They've been already very good. They're number 7, and that's very, very good for you, because number 7 doesn't feel like a top 3 defense, and people assign them all this value. But I'm going to read you every single game going in through week 17, which should encompass not only the rest of the year, but your playoffs. But you go Green Bay, who cares? Cleveland, Cincinnati, they are coming around, who knows? Then you have Arizona, who cares? New England, Indianapolis, Cincinnati again, that's the one we're unaware of, and then at Seattle. That is a straight shot. Cincinnati is the only one where they kind of get better as the year goes on, but right now they haven't been that good.
So got a perfect pairing for that. You pair them with the Chiefs. Those 2 weeks that the Steelers play Cincinnati, both of those weeks, the Chiefs play Vegas.
That'd be great.
That, to me, that works. That's one that works.
And I do love the Chiefs is a good one as well.
They have some good, they have some bad. The
playoffs is what I'm looking at. And you're right. Like, you would have to supplement.
But then they play Cincinnati too, which you probably don't want to use them, but then you use the Steelers probably that week.
But New England and Las Vegas in week 15, 16, they are defense number 3. But they're about to hit a bye, so they'll
hit a bye. Then they play Philly, so they're not going to be useful for you for a couple weeks.
But what I do love about that is when you're looking for buys, a lot of times people will throw out a defense away because they have to get someone else. So even though they're a very good defense, they're already down 15%. There's a possibility you can go ahead and pick them up.
They'll drop more this week for sure on bye. They'll drop more, and then because they're playing Philly, they'll drop more. Like, it's just not gonna.
Yeah, no one's gonna pick them up for Philly.
Yeah, it's just not gonna happen. So that's the problem. You have to be in a good spot to be able to do this sometimes. Well, that's the other issue. You know what I mean?
You do.
You should probably be in hopefully a good spot where you have these bench spots to be able to do this, which not everyone can. But if you're past buys a little bit, I think you can start to throw away some of those extra bench guys, like your 6th receiver, right? Like,
oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Like to get a couple. This is where I start to. Probably, let's see, I'm going to get an extra defense. I might get my handcuff now that I didn't have before. But that's what I do now once you're passed by. Some people are we're in the thick of it right now, but
I'm going to assume if you're already pretty much set, you don't think there's any way you can lose out, you're already in the playoffs, you have a game or two of wiggle room, you should absolutely go out and get your playoff defenses set. No doubt about it. Even if I was a team that is in the hunt at the moment, I am definitely looking for the teams like the Steelers or Detroit that have a very good schedule where you really can just put them in and you can forget about it. And and if you get another defense at some point to supplement, like I keep talking about, great. But those are the ones I would definitely do, and I absolutely love it. The Lions are going to be available. That's why 100%. I think that one is one of the best ones you have.
Yep.
The Steelers are the other one.
You have to go try to trade for them. Yeah.
You have to trade, but I don't think you have to give up a lot.
No.
The other one I do want to bring up is New Orleans. They're number 4 currently, so we'll see. But they do have a bye in week 11, so
that's
watch
where,
for
them. Yeah, 100%.
But you're about to. I mean, once again, that is another one. You do hit Detroit in week 13. And we'll see what the Rams are in week 16. But I honestly think by that point, they're going to be kind of a shell of themselves. They go from at Minnesota now this week. Then you have a bye. That's when you're looking to get them. Then you have Atlanta, Detroit. You can skip that one. Carolina, New York, Giants. The Rams and Tampa Bay to finish it out. That is a great schedule as well. So I love New Orleans as well. But I have to go back to the Lions once again. I think you're absolutely right because you can go out and get them right now. And then if you can trade for Saints, if you can trade for Steelers, if you can do it, great. But you already have something really solid.
Well, even if you go get the Steelers and you pair them with the Lions, like, right, those 2 Cincinnati weeks with the Steelers, the Lions play Green Bay and Minnesota. Those are fine matchups for the Lions. Another team I'll throw out there that hasn't been great, I think they're even in the 20s ranked, but I like their schedule, is the Falcons. So that's the kind of defense that hasn't hurt you, but they also don't put up big numbers. You know what I mean? Like they don't like put these flashy numbers up, but their schedule's pretty solid.
They have yet to end this funny because they've gone perfectly 0 3 times, but they've never gone negative.
They don't hurt you completely.
Dallas went negative 3 times. It's so funny.
But this is like, obviously other options I want over them. But if this is where you're at, this like week 10 they play Arizona, but they have a bye. But then it's the Saints, which again don't scare me. But then it's the Jets, then it's Tampa, then it's Carolina, Indianapolis, Chicago. It's a great schedule.
That playoff schedule is money.
It's awesome schedule. But it's still the Falcons.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, they're
but a lot of these other teams,
but
a lot of these other teams, if you can't get the Steelers, Chiefs are probably owned. Lions are probably your best shot, I would say. If you just need to go stream, you go pick them up and just like, man, they should be in good shape. But yeah, like I said, an underrated thing is trading for a defense. It really is. When you start to like think you're feeling in a good spot with everything else, go trade for that defense.
And we're in a perfect position right now. You're near the probably trade deadline. If you're already going and you're trading for a player, look at what defense they have. It is a sweetener, and most people are not going to fight you on it. Like they'll be like, fine, whatever.
I love that move. Is if you're trying to like, especially this works really well like in keeper leagues where like in ours, like we've talked about, like when you are buying for a playoff run and other teams are selling, trying to get like keepers or whatever, they don't care about the defense.
No.
Like that's such an easy throw in. If you're already getting everything else, if you're giving them a potential keeper or two, it's so easy to get that defense on top of a player.
And honestly, depending on what you can actually trade, it might be easier to get a defense plus another player for something you're giving up. Like if you don't have anything that is really low key enough or something they don't want, make it a little bigger. I'm not against it. Like if you can get a team that's really going to help you as far as defense and someone that could possibly just bolster your depth. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. There's definitely some options though, like to get yourself set up. That Lions schedule is great. I think it's going to be a really good stretch there for them. I really, really do. And then Steelers. I love the Steelers schedule. I mean, I picked them up and that was my plan. I just have 2 weeks from like, we'll see what will I decide to do those 2 weeks.
I'm not.
But there's options. There's actually plenty of options though. That's the beauty with the Steelers. Those 2 weeks kind of can scare you, but there are so many options.
Which, to be quite honest, like which one would you rather have the rest of the year, Steelers or Saints? Because I do think both of them you probably have to trade for, but which one do you actually feel? And right now I'm looking at it and I'm kind of like, man, the Saints do have a bye in week 11, and that is what I'm staring at. I'm like, if people start dropping it, that would be wonderful.
So the only thing with the Saints, right, that would scare you is week 13. But with the Lions, but you can make that work with something. You make that work maybe with the Dolphins who play Washington or the Falcons who play the Jets. You make that work there if you don't want to use you play them against the Saints or playing against Detroit. And the other one, that's it though, to be honest. Unless, if I knew Stafford wasn't going to play, I think it's the Saints because week 16 is the Rams. Where if it's a backup, if it's Carson Wentz, I'm like,
I do think the Saints is a better bet only because I do not trust right now. I think Steelers, if you just look straight who they're going to play, they're better. But Cincinnati, I think when you hit them twice, I have a feeling that they're going to play spoiler.
Something with the Steelers. You need something for that. But the thing is, with the Steelers, you can find something for both of those weeks.
Oh, no matter where you get,
but the Saints, you can find something with those possibly that 1 week.
I guess my big thing was like, if you're going to go out and try to trade for one, and both are an option for trade partners, which one would you rather have? I think I would, take the more highly rated one with the Saints. You might have to give up a little more, but I do think that they have a safer schedule with more upside. And once again, if you can't get them, then if you try to trade for them, maybe they're less likely to drop them on their bye week.
Yep.
But
but those are the most that have like the most, like the Steelers, the Saints do have the bye week, but the Steelers have like, there's maybe 2 games you can't use, and the Saints is maybe 2 weeks you can't use them too. That's it. And like the Chiefs, I like the Chiefs, but there's 3 weeks you can't use them. That's where it starts to get a little more, and then maybe even one more if they play Cincinnati. So the Chiefs could be like 4 weeks you can't use them, possibly. That's where it gets a little rough. That's where you have to pair them with teams. That's where you have to keep 2. The Lions, though, man, I have 1 week you can't use them. That's it. When you think about that, if I'm looking at it that way, the Lions to me have 1 week where you're not going to want to use them.
Well, and what week is that?
That's Dallas, and that's if you get to the championship.
The literal final week.
That's fine. You'll make that work. Man, the Lions are even more attractive to me than I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But the Steelers, you have 2 weeks. You feel comfortable. Like you said, the Saints, you have 2 weeks because one's a bye, and then one is Detroit. And the Chiefs have 3 to 4 that you don't 3, and then the 4th would be the championship that you don't feel comfortable. Man, the Lions are more and more attractive.
They are, and I do like it because they do have a pretty young defense. I think that, as well as they've been playing, I think that there's a little bit room for them to amp it up. I mean, they really, what do they have?
If you
one
look
touchdown.
And if you look at what they've done.
They're not bolstered by anything in particular. Like, they just have been playing solid.
They had a really rough week against Baltimore.
Oh, they got smacked. Yeah, for sure.
But actually, after what Baltimore did to Seattle, it made me feel way better.
Baltimore is a scary offensive team. We all know that. I mean, Lamar can go off at any week. Yep. I get it. But,
what I would do if you're hearing this before they play the Chargers and you have that bench spot, just throw them there. Throw them on there. Because if they play really well against the Chargers and then people see the schedule, they're going to be added way more. So this is the time to get them.
I mean, it's great that you can more than likely you can pick them up without having to trade for a defense. That's really what you want. You don't want to have to go out and give up more than you're willing to.
Yep. That's why, and just in general, as you're going through the rest of the year, maybe you can't hold the defenses as long, but try to get them the week before the good matchup. We've talked about this for years. When they're going to play, like whoever is going to play New England next week, don't wait until next week to get them, because then everyone's going to see, oh, wow, they have a great matchup. I'm going to go get them. Get them the week before where you're not going to play them.
And heck, man, like if you go out and you have the Cowboys or Ravens, they're the number 1 and 2 defenses right now. Throw them in the package and try to get the lesser defense with the Steelers, or go for the better playoff schedule.
Yep.
Because, I mean, if you're looking at Cowboys right now, you have these big numbers, and they can put up big ones, and they're going to put up huge numbers in the next couple of weeks. And that's going to be a really funny part. That would be really helpful. But at the same time, you're going to have Buffalo, Miami, Detroit in the playoffs. They're not usable. I mean, you could play them, but you're kind of hoping.
So I don't think we talked about here, that this is, you have to be pretty set in your ways, and you think, I'm in the playoffs. Like, I'm going to be in the playoffs. It's the Eagles.
I was going to say, that move that I said is for someone that...
Yeah, but the Eagles are the move for that. If you are like, okay, I'm in the playoffs, for sure. The Eagles, you're literally not going to want to use them until the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So somebody else would probably give them to you. What you do is just go to hey, you're going to use this team. They have a bye. Then they play Kansas City. Then they play Buffalo. Look at that schedule. Kansas City, Buffalo, San Francisco, Dallas. That's their next 4 games after a bye. That's crazy, which makes me feel awesome about the Lions' potential for a number 1 seed. But that sounds pretty amazing for the Lions, actually.
That's wild.
So, but you look at that and be like, you go to somebody like, man, you're not going to use the Eagles. Why do you? If this is a team, the people that have them that are like, they're fighting for their playoff life, they are not going to use the Eagles, and they have no use for them. They could be dropped, or you could get them for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But they play Seattle, the Giants, and Arizona in the playoffs. That is amazing. Yeah, and they will be good against those 3 teams.
Oh, they're going to be, yeah. Without a doubt. I mean, the worst they're going to be is Seattle.
Yep.
And let's be honest, I feel like Seattle's going the wrong way. And when you're getting that close to the end of the year, they're ramping it up. They're getting ready for playoff time. Let's be honest. The Eagles are a real legit team. Mm-hmm. So you do love that as well. And the same thing with the Lions. Same thing with Saints and Steelers are a little less. But at the same time, they'll still be playing for the playoff life.
This is the kind of stuff that can win a championship for you. These little things, like just make sure you're set, especially, if you're sitting in a good spot right now, 7-2, 8-1, maybe you're 9-0. If you're 9-0, get your defenses shored up for the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, all right, there we go. That'll do it for today. Talk to you guys next time.